All right, hi everybody. My name is Jackson, and today I'm just going to be showing my Super Smash Bros. High score calculator. Just going to start by showing the demo for it. I was running before, so about that. So it's going to ask classic set, marathon set, or quit. So for this one, we'll do the classic set, and then just to show for the error, if you don't put one, two, or Q, it's going to tell you invalid menu option. It says please enter one, two, or Q. So we'll do one for the classic set. We'll say there's two players. Let's put a name, Jackson. And then let's say, for example, we didn't put an integer value for the first score. It's going to give us an error message. It's going to say invalid score. Please enter an integer from 0 to a million. And it's going to give us the chance to type it in again. And then it's going to give us the average of the three scores. And then we'll do the second player. Same thing. It's going to give us the average. And then it's going to ask us if we want to run the program again. We'll say, or if we put an invalid input for this, we don't put Y or N. Let's say we put J. It's going to tell us, please enter Y or N, run the program again. And we'll click Y. And then we can do the marathon set. And then let's say how many players, let's say we put 51 instead of 1 through 50. It's going to say invalid number of players. Please enter a value in the range. How many players? Let's say we'll just do one for time's sake. That's my name, and then we can do two words actually. Yeah, and it's gonna do the same thing. But for this, the marathon set, it's gonna drop the highest and the lowest scores, and then find the average of the remaining three. And yeah, that gives it there. Okay, and then we'll just click end. It says goodbye. Okay, and then we can get into the actual code. Okay, so for this one. I declared a lot of function prototypes just to make it a lot simpler. And then I did put some global variables up here. So for the class games, it's 3, marathon games equal to 5. And then the limits for each format. So the classic format only had 1 through 20, and the marathon had 1 through 50. And then for the score limits, obviously just 0 through a million. And then I did declare some strings for the error messages up here, so it's easier to put them in when it happened. And then I'll show the main function at the last, but I want to show the prototypes that I made. So for the show welcome, just user interface, just welcome to the Super Smash Bros. High School Calculator, and just gonna ask you there. And then this is how you actually get the choice from what you're doing. So I just used if statements here. So when and I just said choose an option and then declare it as S, and then depending on which one you got, it's gonna return either one, two, or Q, which ultimately goes back to the main function at the top, which I'll get into later. Um, and then I did a Boolean ask run again. So this one I just did a while loop and I said run the program again. So this is after the program is finished running, it asks you. And then depending on that, it'll either return true or false. And then if you put it invalid input, it'll type in please enter Y or N. And then getting player count. So it's gonna ask how many players. And then I think at the top here, yeah, so we already declared the parameters, the int. Uh, oh my God, I lost it. For the minimum players and the maximum players. And then I used the while loop here. And then I used sin.clear and sin.ignore for if the user put a invalid input like a letter or symbol or went over the max minimum. Or well, that's where the not sin is for. And then yeah, depending on the end, it'll tell you. And then it'll return n for the number of players. For read score, this one I did a while loop. Um, Also I did not sin. X is less than score underscore min. X is greater than score underscore max. Sin dot clear again. Sin dot ignore. This just removes 100 characters of whatever was inputted and then sets a new line right here. And then just in case they inputted the wrong, put it invalid input, then it'll put that string that we declared at the top, and then it'll finally return X. The classic average, I just used a for loop for this one. It was pretty simple. I just declared it as I equals 1, and then I said I is greater than or equal to classic games, which was 3 above there, and then increment I plus plus, so it'll end after 3 games. And then it ultimately goes back to the read score, which we do right there. And then it'll return the average, which is just the total divided by classic games, which was 3. And then for the compute marathon format, I this one was a little more confusing for me because just getting rid of the highest and lowest value, so I had to add some additional code for that one. But the for loop, pretty much the same thing. And then I just had to do if and else statements, finding the high and the low of what the user inputs. But at the end, I just after finding what the high and low is, I just subtract it from the sum. And then I return what the final was, but divided by 3 to find the average of it. Um, and then for the classic games, it's just more of like the functions just input into one. So we get the player count here, and then compute classic average. Um, and this one just will ask for the user's name. And then I use the get line statement, so it could be more than one word for the whatever the user's inputting. Um, yeah. And then I just did the same exact thing for the run marathon. And then going back up here, the main integer, I used a boolean for the running equals true, so the program will keep running. Then I use the while loop, and then I just use this function, which is just a welcome, and then I declared choice as a char, a character. Um, and then I used a switch statement, so I should each case one, two, and then I did both queues just in case the user was feeling a little lazy and didn't want to make it capital. But yeah, it just runs the run classic, run marathon, and then if you click Q, it says goodbye, and then running equals false, so the program will end. And then if you don't input any of those, it'll give us that original string that I declared at the top for the default. And that's about it. Some overtime.